point reflection on each side, one on the bottom, and then from each side there's a sphere of light. And if you look closely, you can see a second rainbow. Then up above there's an inverse rainbow.
The horizon, for instance, is always completely flat, and you don't feel any motion. So if you were just born today and looked out, you wouldn't assume that you're standing on a spinning ball. You'd assume that you were on a flat, motionless plane. So to assume that we are on a spinning ball is actually contrary to our common sense and our everyday experience. And there's also experiments that have been done to test whether we're...
Boats don't disappear over the curvature of the horizon. Boats disappear due to perspective. All you have to do is go to the beach, watch a boat disappear from your eye, and then whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your high-powered zoom on your camera, and you can pull the entire boat right back into view. Whole mass and all. Yeah, that's right. You think the boat disappeared? Just whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your zoom camera. You bring the entire boat back into view, completely debunking everything Coy.
We're shown that and told that's the solar system, that's the way it works. You've got the big sun in the middle and all the planets revolve around it, but nobody's ever seen that. We've never seen a photograph of it. We've never seen, real part. We've certainly never seen any animation of it, even though there's supposed to be a probe out in Pluto at the moment. Nobody's ever seen the solar system like this. It's always graphics. It's always...
They're fooling us, taking billions of dollars in and giving us images and fake planes for that 10 billion, however many billions of dollars it is.
Picture this. We never see people in Australia strolling around upside down. Weird, right? Think about it. If the Earth is really a spinning globe, shouldn't we be catching Aussies living life upside down from our side of the planet? With all the satellites and space footage out there, wouldn't you expect to see cars driving upside down and surfers defying gravity on the bottom of the planet? But that kind of footage, it's mysteriously missing. Why? Let's dig into this. If the Earth is a sphere, Live Feeds from Space should show us every angle, above, below, sideways, you name it. But instead, what do we get? Flat horizons, static images, a single perspective, over and over again. Why don't we ever see the action happening underneath? Now, here's another head-scratcher. When you stand at the shore and look out over the ocean, the horizon is completely flat, perfectly level. If the Earth were curved, shouldn't there be even a slight dip in the distance? Shouldn't we notice the edges sloping away from us? And here's something to chew on. Airplane pilots don't adjust for curvature when they fly. Nope. They just keep it straight and level, cruising through the skies without accounting for a downward tilt. But if the Earth were a globe, wouldn't they need constant corrections to avoid flying off into space? Yet, they don't. They just glide along as if the ground below were as flat as a pancake. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Space footage. Some clips raise eyebrows with odd inconsistencies. There's even a famous video where it's claimed astronauts used a small circular part of a window to create the illusion of a spherical Earth. Think about that for a second. If everything is legit, why resort to camera tricks? What's the big secret?
You ever wonder why they're called airplanes and not airballs? This is proof that the Earth is flat, stationary, and enclosed by a glass dome known as the firmament, which contains the sun, moon, and stars, all of which move and not the Earth. And trust me, it's going to make you rethink everything. You've heard all the theories about Earth being round, right? We've all seen the pictures from space. The CGI animations, the globe in classrooms. But what if all of that was just part of a larger story? What if you've been missing something right in front of your eyes this entire time? According to what we've been told, the Earth's circumference is about 24,901 miles. Okay, cool. But if that were to be true, there would need to be a very specific amount of curvature happening as we move across the planet. I mean, we're supposed to be on a ball, right? So naturally it should curve in every single direction, not just the one you're looking at. Think about it for a second. On a ball, no matter where you are, the ground beneath you should bend or curve away. But when you actually look for that curvature, where is it? Now here's where it gets interesting. Instead of relying on NASA's billion-dollar equipment and fisheye lenses, what if you just took matters into your own hands? Some people have done just that, sending high-altitude balloons with regular, non-distorted lenses. And what do you see? No curve, a flat horizon as far as the eye can see. You ever wonder why they're called airplanes and not airballs? They fly straight across the sky, never curving, to match the supposed curvature of a globe. If we were on a ball, wouldn't they need to constantly adjust their altitude? But they don't. They fly level, and don't even get me started on gravity, because let's face it, that's just a theory. After all these years, gravity still hasn't been proven. What we do know, water doesn't stick to a ball. Ever tried balancing water on a basketball? Exactly. The math is another thing that doesn't add up. There's supposed to be a curve of about 8 inches per mile squared, so why don't we ever see it? From high up, you'd expect to see a pretty clear curve, yet the horizon stays flat. That's something you can see with your own eyes. No need for fancy space agencies to tell you otherwise. So why the push to make us believe we're spinning on a ball through space? What's the end game here? Here's the thing. You don't have to take anyone's word for it, not even mine. Just think critically. Look around you. Everything in your everyday experience shows a flat, stationary world. They've been pushing the globe model on us since we were kids. But why? Maybe it's time we start questioning that narrative. And don't feel bad if you've believed in the globe your whole life. We've all been there, myself included. But once you start doing your own research, things start making a lot more sense. Suddenly, it clicks. The flat Earth isn't just a theory for some fringe group. There are real, undeniable proofs right in front of us. If an airplane were flying around a globe, it would need to tilt its nose downward constantly. But if you bring a gyroscope on a plane, or even just observe during a flight, you'll notice that this never happens. You never feel the airplane suddenly dipping, which is exactly what would have to occur to fly around a spherical Earth. On the other hand, if we lived on a flat surface, which we do, the airplane would simply fly along at a constant level. That's exactly the experience we have when flying. Wake up, people. There's a critical flaw in the globe-Earth model. Let me explain. According to the globe model, the Earth's core is made of molten lava, while the surface is covered in water. We're told gravity pulls everything downward, including water. But think about it. If that were true, wouldn't the water flow downward toward the core and extinguish it? This alone shows how flawed the globe-Earth model really is. Here's another inconsistency. If the Earth were a globe, trees would grow vertically upward from the center of the sphere. Now let's consider helicopters. If a helicopter flew in a perfectly straight line, it would eventually fly off into space, wouldn't it? But that doesn't happen. Helicopters can't just fly off into space. That's because we live on a flat plane. Make it make sense. And here's another thing. Have you ever thought about the sun? It's supposedly a giant fireball burning in space. But according to the fire triangle, fire needs oxygen, heat, and fuel to burn. Space is a vacuum with no oxygen, so how can the sun still be burning? Come on, guys, it's...
Met a man the other day who thought the earth was flat. I said, man, you must be crazy. Where the hell is your tinfoil hat? But he spoke with such conviction, and he believed the words he spoke. And something deep inside me knew this couldn't be a joke. But why would he believe this? And why believe such things? 'Cause everybody knows the earth's a ball and that it spins. Well, you must be pretty crazy if you think the earth is flat. 'Cause we all know that it's a globe, and that's a simple fact. So I said, what about the photographs that NASA takes from space? He gave a knowing smile.
Did you know there's a point on Earth you're not allowed to cross? Yeah, there's a place on this planet where no matter how far you go, you'll never end up back where you started. The Supreme Creator declared that He placed the Earth on its foundations and set a firmament above us. But what if that means the Earth isn't what we've been taught? Therefore, we need to look closely at what ancient texts and observations reveal. In the Bible, the Creator revealed to Isaiah the difference between a circle and a sphere. The Creator carefully chose His words to describe the Earth. It also mentions the four corners of the Earth. A sphere has no corners, but a flat plane does. Therefore, could the four corners point to a different interpretation of the Earth's shape? When I refer to the four corners of the Earth, here's what I mean. Just like when humans created a compass with north, east, south, and west set on a circular frame, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The Bible even says He placed a compass on the face of the Earth. But why would this specific imagery of a compass be used unless it held deeper significance? Most of us learn in school that the Earth is a spinning sphere in space, with directions pointing outward from its center. Simple enough, right? But here's where things start to get interesting. When we examine ancient cultures, their maps, and even traditional compasses, something doesn't add up. These sources hint at directions not as simple as traveling around a globe, but instead aligned with fixed points. North, in particular, stands out as special. It's always constant, never moving. Therefore, it has been the key point for navigation throughout history. But east and west, those directions behave differently, curving endlessly without ever truly stopping. What if the compass, the tool that points to north, is actually revealing something deeper about the Earth's layout? North is stable, but east and west are infinite paths. Therefore, when planes fly east or west, they eventually return to their starting point. However, heading south is a completely different story. If you journey far enough south, you'll encounter Antarctica, a place unlike any other. When you reach Antarctica, you don't just loop back like you do with east or west. Instead, you encounter an immense expanse of ice, often called the ice wall. This isn't just a theoretical boundary, it's a physical one. But this region isn't open for exploration. Therefore, international treaties strictly limit travel, keeping most people away. So the question remains, why all the secrecy? Could there be something beyond that ice wall, something intentionally hidden from us? Many theories suggest so, and it makes you wonder, what else could be waiting for us beyond the boundaries? Here's a way you can prove the flat Earth irrefutably. Ready for it? The Suez Canal, that's right. This engineering marvel is over 120 miles long and completely level the entire way. No dips, no drops, just straight, flat water. Now we're told the Earth is a globe, but if that were true, there'd have to be some curvature over those 120 miles. So why is it perfectly level? Let's dive deeper into this. Now we're told the Earth is a globe, but if that were true, there'd have to be some curvature over those 120 miles. So why is it perfectly level? Let's dive deeper into this. The canal connects the Red Sea to the Mediterranean, allowing ships to travel in both directions with ease. But if we're truly on a spinning sphere, shouldn't there be at least some measurable drop-off, even just an inch? Yet the Suez Canal is flat, no measurable curvature. Therefore, it raises serious questions about the globe model. In fact, here's a simple experiment for you. The next time you fly, record the entire flight. Notice something. There's no curve. The plane doesn't dip. But wouldn't you expect it to nosedive slightly to adjust for curvature? Therefore, why does the plane maintain a straight, level path? Even better, ask the pilot if they ever account for the Earth's curve. Chances are they'll tell you they don't. And gyroscopes? They don't account for curvature either. So if planes don't, gyroscopes don't, and ships don't, how are we still believing in this curve? But let's not stop there. Emergency landings tell an even stranger story. Flight patterns and emergency landings align perfectly on a flat Earth map, yet on a globe they don't make sense at all. And water, let's think about that too. When you spin water in a bucket, does it form a ball? Nope. It does the opposite, it bulges outward. Water seeks its level. Therefore, why would oceans bend around a globe? It doesn't. How does a plane flying eastward at 800 kilometers per hour ever reach its destination when the Earth is supposedly spinning at 1,600 kilometers per hour? Think about it. If the ground is moving faster than the plane, shouldn't the plane be left behind, never catching up? But here's the thing, we know planes reach their destinations every day. Therefore, this raises a major question about what we've been taught. Picture this. You're on a flight heading east. The plane is cruising along, but according to conventional science, the Earth beneath you is spinning eastward even faster. So why aren't you stuck in an endless game of catch-up? Shouldn't landing on a runway that's supposedly moving at 1,600 kilometers per hour feel impossible? Imagine trying to hit a bullseye on a target that's constantly moving away from you. Mainstream science explains this by claiming the Earth's atmosphere moves with the planet, like Velcro dragging everything along. But ask yourself, does this really make sense when Earth is surrounded by the vacuum of space? How is this Velcro effect working without any tangible boundary? Now let's talk about another key point. If Earth were truly a spinning ball, wouldn't pilots have to constantly adjust their altitude to stay aligned with the planet's curve? For example, a plane flying at 800 kilometers per hour would need to dip its nose down every minute to stay on course. Without these corrections, the plane would climb higher and higher, eventually reaching altitudes it couldn't handle. But here's the kicker. Pilots don't do that. Once a plane reaches cruising altitude, it stays level. There's no constant battle against a spinning or curving Earth, just a smooth, steady flight until it's time to descend. Doesn't that make you wonder? And what about the horizon? No matter how high you fly, the horizon always stays at eye level. If Earth were curved, wouldn't the horizon drop as you gained altitude? But here's the reality. It doesn't. Pilots and passengers alike will tell you that the horizon remains consistent, whether you're at sea level or 30,000 feet in the air. So, if planes don't adjust for curvature and the horizon behaves as if it's flat, what does that say about the shape of our world? Intrigued yet? This is just one of many questions challenging the narrative we've been told. Want to explore more? Stick around and check out more videos on this page. You might start seeing the world in a whole new way. The world we know is limited to 7 continents, surrounded by oceans, with Antarctica as its icy southernmost point. But is that the full story? Antarctica is the most unexplored and restricted place on Earth, yet we're told to believe it's just ice and snow. But what if it's not a continent at all? What if it's a massive wall encircling our known world, keeping us confined within a flat Earth? The Antarctic Treaty ensures no one can freely explore the region, therefore any claims about its true nature are controlled by governments and elites. But ancient maps and historical accounts describe continents and territories far beyond Antarctica. Lands that are conveniently missing from modern globes. Could it be that these lands are real and intentionally hidden? Imagine the possibilities, resources that could change the course of humanity, advanced civilizations with knowledge beyond our understanding, or perhaps creatures and life forms long thought to be extinct. Therefore, controlling this information would grant immense power to the few who already dominate the globe. If we discovered these lands, the illusion of their control would crumble. There's a leaked video on the dark web that allegedly shows what lies beyond Antarctica. But are you brave enough to see it? Click share, comment, view video, and check your inbox. The Earth is flat, and here's why. Ever wondered why satellite dishes don't point straight up? If satellites are supposedly orbiting miles above us, but those dishes aim at an angle toward the horizon instead of the sky, doesn't that seem strange? Therefore, it makes you question, are these dishes really connecting to satellites, or are they connecting to ground-based towers nearby? It flips the story we've been told about how modern communication works. NASA claims thousands of satellites orbit Earth, delivering TV, GPS, and radio signals from space. But take a look around. When was the last time you saw a satellite dish pointed directly toward the sky? These dishes are angled toward nearby towers, suggesting they might be connecting to local stations instead of distant satellites. Therefore, you might wonder, what about those tiny lights moving across the night sky? Aren't those satellites? Here's the thing, these objects are supposedly the size of a bus and over 100 miles away, but at that distance, how could they be visible to the naked eye? So therefore, could those lights be planes, drones, or something else entirely? Now let's talk about those photos of Earth from space. NASA says these images are real, but they also admit they're composites, stitched together in editing software. Supposedly, satellites send down strips of images which are pieced together to create a picture of Earth. But if there are thousands of satellites out there, wouldn't it be easy to capture a single unedited photo of Earth? Therefore, it makes you wonder, why all the editing? Imagine if the images were shown are computer-generated instead of actual photos. And consider this, if most dishes communicate with ground stations, and if Earth's images are edited composites, how much of what we know about space is actually true? When you dig into these details, things start to feel off? Why don't those lights in the sky match what we're told? But more importantly, why are all the satellite dishes angled at the horizon instead of pointing up to space? Therefore, if you're starting to question the story we've been told, hit that follow button. There's a lot more.
The globe, but there wasn't Google, so how could they know this definite location? And that makes me think, another big story, another ship sinks. Flat Earth, that's what we're living on. If you think the world is round, you're totally wrong. Flat Earth, that's what we're living on. If you think the world is round, then you're probably a flat Earth, flat Earth.
So you think the Earth is rotating at 1,000 miles per hour and that's why the sun comes up? But what if I told you there's another explanation that makes more sense? This morning I was at the beach and captured something fascinating. Check it out. It looks like the sun is rising, but if you zoom in, you'll see it's already up. Therefore, it's not actually rising as we've been told. The atmosphere acts like a lens, magnifying the sun and making it appear as though it's coming up over the horizon. Instead, perspective explains this phenomenon. The further something gets away, the lower it appears. Therefore, it's just like streetlights on a long road. But while they seem to get lower as they move into the distance, they aren't actually going down, they're just farther away. Here's another example. If you watch someone walking across a flat field, it may look like they're descending, but they're not walking downhill or on a curved surface. It's simply how perspective works. They don't teach us this in school. Therefore, we're left with the misconception that the sun rises because of the Earth's rotation. But what if that's not true? When you see the sun halfway below the horizon, you shouldn't be able to zoom in and see it fully, but you can. Therefore, it's not the Earth spinning, it's all about perspective. This perspective shift also changes how we understand day, night, and seasons. The sun isn't stationary with the Earth spinning beneath it, but rather the sun rotates around us in 24-hour cycles. Therefore, this motion explains time zones and even seasons. In the summer, the sun makes smaller loops around the Earth, staying closer to regions like the US. But as winter comes, the sun's path widens and moves farther away, bringing summer to regions like Australia. Therefore, what we've been taught about the Earth spinning is incorrect. When we zoom in and see the sun fully above the horizon, despite it appearing to set, it proves that the Earth isn't spinning. But instead, it's all about how perspective shapes what we see. It's time to change your perspective. We're not spinning. If Earth were really spinning and hurtling through space at unimaginable speeds, wouldn't we feel it? Wouldn't we see some evidence of it? But the reality we experience every day suggests something very different, challenging everything we've been told about Earth's motion. Let's break it down. The mainstream narrative claims that Earth spins at 1,000 miles per hour, orbits the Sun at 67,000 miles per hour, moves through the Milky Way at 500,000 miles per hour, and races through the universe at over 1 million miles per hour. But here's the problem. With all that motion, you'd expect to feel something, anything. Therefore, it's strange that no one, past or present, has ever felt, measured, or experienced any of it. Now let's talk about the night sky, starting with Polaris, the North Star. It has remained fixed in the same spot for thousands of years, but if Earth were wobbling, tilting, spinning, and speeding through space, wouldn't the position of Polaris change? Instead, you can go outside tonight and see it, just as your ancestors did. Therefore, the unchanging star trails around Polaris suggest a motionless Earth. Time-lapse photography offers even more proof. Stars are captured moving in perfect circular trails. But if Earth were spinning and zooming through space, those star trails should look chaotic, spiraling, zigzagging, or at least shifting unpredictably. Therefore, the orderly movement we see aligns more with a stable, stationary Earth than a spinning, speeding globe. And here's another critical point. Telescopes. Astronomers rely on them to track distant objects with pinpoint accuracy. But if Earth were moving at thousands or even millions of miles per hour, keeping a telescope steady would be impossible. The fact that they can lock onto celestial targets without issue speaks volumes. Therefore, the ground beneath us must be still, not in constant motion as we've been told. Still think Earth is a spinning ball racing through space? But what if the observations we can see with our own eyes tell a different story? Therefore, it's worth questioning the mainstream narrative. If you found this breakdown as eye-opening as I did, hit that follow button. and explore more of these thought-provoking ideas. Let's dive deeper into the evidence together and uncover. Have you ever wondered why nobody has ever flown over both the North and South Poles? Stick with me, because what I'm about to share might make you question everything you thought you knew. Here's the thing. People who believe the Earth is a globe often point to circumnavigation as their ultimate proof. They'll say, look, planes and ships can travel east to west and return to their starting point, so clearly the Earth must be round. Sounds convincing, right? But here's the twist. While east to west travel works, nobody has ever circumnavigated the Earth by going over both poles, north to south, not a single person. Now you might be thinking it's probably because flying over the poles is too dangerous. But that explanation doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Both the North Pole and Antarctica have strict no-fly zones. These aren't just casual travel restrictions, they're heavily enforced. Even if you wanted to fly over the poles, you'd need special permission. And guess what? That permission is nearly impossible to get. Traveling east to west doesn't definitively prove the Earth is a globe. Picture this. If you take a flat piece of paper and draw a circle around a central point, you can trace a continuous loop without ever leaving the surface. That's how east to west travel works. On a flat Earth, you could navigate in a circular path around a central point like the North Pole and end up right where you started. So while east to west circumnavigation is possible, it doesn't prove the Earth is a sphere. Now here's where it gets even stranger. The United Nations is one of the organizations behind these restrictions. And if you look closely at the UN's logo, what do you see? A flat Earth map. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe not. It's hard to ignore the fact that the same organization using a flat Earth map as its emblem also helps enforce the no-fly zones that prevent anyone from crossing both poles. So when people say circumnavigation proves the Earth is round, they're only telling part of the story. The real test would be flying over both poles. But for some reason, that's completely off limits. We're told it's about safety, but is that really the whole truth? Could there be more to this story than we've been told? What do you think? Is it possible we're not getting the full picture? If this has you rethinking what you've always believed, you're not alone. There's a lot more to uncover, so stick around, we're just getting started. This might just be the best flat Earth proof you've ever heard. We've all seen sundials, right? Simple devices that use the sun's shadow to tell time. But here's the kicker. Sundials only work because of how shadows behave. If Earth were a spinning globe, sundials would be useless. Why? Because the sun's movement across a curved, rotating surface would create chaotic, unpredictable shadows. They'd stretch, twist and shift in ways that don't align with what we actually see. For sundials to function properly, the sun must follow a consistent, circular path across a flat plane. And that's exactly what happens. Shadows move smoothly and predictably, just as they have for thousands of years. It's a system that works flawlessly. Don't believe me? Try it yourself. Grab a flashlight and set up a DIY sundial. If you move the light in a straight line, the shadow will behave strangely, nothing like what happens in reality. But move the light in a circular path, and voila, the shadow mimics what we see on real sundials. Now let's shift gears to the globe model. We've been told for decades to trust NASA and their images of a spinning Earth. But think about it. What do they actually show us? CGI renderings, composite photos, and animations. If the globe is an undeniable fact, why do we rely on edited visuals instead of straightforward evidence? And then there's gravity, the ultimate catch-all explanation. We're supposed to believe it's powerful enough to hold oceans upside down on a spinning ball, yet we've never seen water behave that way. In reality, water always finds its level. It doesn't bend or stick to surfaces. The globe model asks us to ignore basic physics for the sake of a theory. When you put it all together, the cracks in the globe narrative start to show. Sundials are just one example of how the flat Earth model aligns with what we actually experience in the real world. It's simple, observable, and logical. So what do you think? Is it time to question everything we've been told? The answers might be right in front of you. All you have to do is look. The Earth might not be what we've been led to believe, and that's something worth...
The veil of illusion is completely removed, and you see clearly how everything is intricately connected.
let me tell you something about the space station. It's only really there in your imagination. That thing ain't real, it's science fiction. It's there to feed your space addiction. Those astronauts are not in space. It's written all over their stupid face. See, I can spot a lie from 100 miles, and I can spot a fraud from the way they smile. Didn't you learn nothing from the fake moon mission? That puppet show from President Nixon. Well, listen up, they're doing it again, it seems. Check out the harnesses and green screens. I used to work a lot in film and TV. I know a bit about the
This might just be the best flat earth proof you've ever come across. And trust me, it's going to make you rethink everything. You've heard all the theories about Earth being round, right? We've all seen the pictures from space, the CGI animations, the globe in classrooms. But what if all of that was just part of a larger story? What if you've been missing something right in front of your eyes this entire time? According to what we've been told, the Earth's circumference is about 24,901 miles. Okay, cool. But if that were true, there would need to be a very specific amount of curvature happening as we move across the planet. I mean, we're supposed to be on a ball, right? So naturally it should curve in every single direction, not just the one you're looking at. Think about it for a second. On a ball, no matter where you are, the ground beneath you should bend away. But when you actually look for that curvature, where is it? Now here's where it gets interesting. Instead of relying on NASA's billion-dollar equipment and fisheye lenses, what if you just took matters into your own hands? Some people have done just that, sending high-altitude balloons with regular, non-distorted lenses. And what do you see? No curve. A flat horizon as far as the eye can see. Flat, straight, level. You ever wonder why they're called airplanes and not airballs? They fly straight across the sky, never curving, to match the supposed curvature of a globe. If we were on a ball, wouldn't they need to constantly adjust their altitude? But they don't. They fly level, and don't even get me started on gravity, because let's face it, that's just a theory. After all these years, gravity still hasn't been proven. What we do know, water doesn't stick to a ball. Ever tried balancing water on a basketball? Exactly. The math is another thing that doesn't add up. There's supposed to be a curve of about 8 inches per mile squared. So why don't we ever see it? From high up, you'd expect to see a pretty clear curve, yet the horizon stays flat. That's something you can see with your own eyes. No need for fancy space agencies to tell you otherwise. So why the push to make us believe we're spinning on a ball through space? What's the end game here? Here's the thing. You don't have to take anyone's word for it, not even mine. Just think critically, look around you. Everything in your everyday experience shows a flat, stationary world. They've been pushing the globe model on us since we were kids, but why? Maybe it's time we start questioning that narrative. And don't feel bad if you've believed in the globe your whole life. We've all been there, myself included. But once you start doing your own research, things start making a lot more sense. Suddenly it clicks. The flat earth isn't just a theory for some fringe group. There are real, undeniable proofs right in front of us. You've just got to be willing. Here's another interesting fact about the Gleason's map. This part of the map mentions a perpendicular barrier of ice, also known as the ice wall. Antarctica was discovered about 200 years ago, but it took almost 100 more years to be able to reach and explore it. Gleason already talked about this in his map at the end of the 19th century. The map shows longitude and degrees and is also a time calculator. The shapes of the continents and land masses seem to be accurate or close to reality on this map because it needs to be precise for the time calculator to work. Alexander Gleason's map clearly represents a flat world. But if they claim it's a projection of a globe, shouldn't the Earth supposedly be a geoid? Then this projection wouldn't match reality. However, we can see that it does work. How does the June solstice occur? In this section it says that in the images of June and December, the white area represents the sun's position during its respective months at noon. This shows the sunlight within the Arctic Circle for 24 hours. Starting on June 21, the sun moves around the tropics in a spiral, widening each day until it reaches its destination at the southern or outer solstice on December 21. Here it clearly states that the sun moves, not the Earth. On the other side, to the right, it mentions the December solstice. On December 21, the sun moves around the Tropic of Capricorn, and during the day, it lights up the southern part of the Earth, from the Arctic Circle to part of the Antarctic ice. There is no sunlight beyond 80 degrees south, only unknown ice regions. On December 23, the sun begins its journey north again, returning to its starting point, completing the seasons. This is the cosmology of the flat, not spherical world. We can clearly see and better understand how the sun and its light move over the earth with this map. In summer, it's closer to the north, so there's more light illuminating everything at all times. That's how it moves and changes the seasons throughout the year. And then in winter in the north, the sun moves farther away, going, here's the secret about satellites they don't want you to know. And once you hear this, everything will start making sense. Did you know that nearly 100% of all transoceanic internet traffic, yes, the internet you're using right now, travels through undersea cables? That means your video calls, streaming, and even international TV broadcasts aren't coming from satellites in space, but from fiber optic lines lying at the bottom of the ocean. So why then do we hear so much about satellites? If all the data is moving through cables, what exactly are these satellites doing? Are they just decoration in the sky, or is there something they're not telling us? The truth is, the idea of satellites floating in outer space might just be one of the biggest marketing schemes of our time. Think about it. If everything is transmitted through underwater cables, why do we need satellites? The answer is simple. We don't. Our space isn't some endless void above us. It's right here, our oceans. That's where the real magic happens, and the clues are all around us. The ancient astronomical clock, built over 600 years ago, doesn't reflect a spinning heliocentric Earth. Instead, it's geocentric, a system that stood the test of time because it's rooted in observable reality. Still not convinced? Let's talk about Lake Baikal in Russia. It's the world's largest freshwater lake, stretching 395 miles long and 49 miles wide. For 5 months a year, it's frozen solid and flat. If the Earth were a globe, there should be 19 miles of curvature across that lake. But guess what? There's none. The surface remains perfectly flat, even when frozen solid. And what about airplanes? When pilots lose communication with ground towers, they rely on something called dead reckoning. This technique involves maintaining a steady heading and altitude based on the assumption of a flat, stable Earth. If satellites were real and functional, pilots wouldn't need this backup method. So why do they still use it? Here's another clue. Astronauts train underwater. Why? Because what they call spacewalks look and feel a lot like underwater movements. Maybe that's because our space is much closer to home than we think, right beneath the surface of our oceans. If this has you questioning what you've been taught, it's time to dig deeper. Follow this page for more mind-blowing truths that will make you see the world in a whole new way. Ever wondered how time zones work on flat Earth? Here's how they make perfect sense on a flat Earth, and it's going to blow your mind. Time zones are something we use every single day, but have you ever stopped to think about how they actually work? The globe model claims the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, yet somehow, every time, zone stays perfectly aligned. How does that even make sense when you're supposedly wobbling on a tilted ball, zooming around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour? And here's another odd thing. If the sun is 93 million miles away and enormous, why do we see sunlight coming down in distinct rays, like beams from a flashlight? Shouldn't it light up everything equally? These are the kinds of questions that lead us to a different, simpler explanation. The Flat Earth model offers a straightforward answer. The sun isn't a gigantic ball millions of miles away. Instead, it's small, local, and acts like a spotlight. Imagine holding a flashlight over a table. The light only covers a specific area, right? That's how the sun works on a flat Earth. It moves in a circular path above the surface, lighting up different areas as it travels. Each hour, the sun's movement represents one time zone. It's a natural system, not dependent on imaginary tilts or spins, and it explains why we see sunlight rays coming through clouds at angles. They're close and directional, just like a streetlight. Here's another way to think about it. A sundial. Sundials work because the sun's position creates a shadow that moves predictably throughout the day. If the sun were millions of miles away and stationary relative to the Earth, how would a sundial work so precisely? And what about the seasons? On a flat Earth, the sun's circular path changes over the year, creating the solstices and equinoxes. In summer, the sun's path is tighter, closer to the center, and gives us longer days. In winter, the path is wider and farther away, resulting in shorter days. It's like the difference between spinning a torch close to your hand versus farther away. Simple, right? Even undersea cables between continents align with the flat Earth model. Why don't they show these routes on a globe? Because the direct flat paths don't match the curved lines they want us to believe.
NASA's missions to the moon were never completed. They just filmed them in a room and people believe it. I used to wonder what it's like to be an astronaut. Now when I see them acting, I can't help but to laugh a lot. They give us cartoons and they claim that we live on a ball, but it's flat and it's not moving or spinning at all. Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that, you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go. It's time we take our power back and we rescue our people. The Vatican and the bankers are like Resident Evil. They may have had the greatest plan that was ever concocted, but Illuminati never thought that they'd ever be spotted. They're manufacturing reality all in our heads. They tell us if the earth is flat then we'll fall off the edge, but if it is a spinning ball we won't fall off it then. And gravity is our imaginary magic friend. Why is water always flat when unmanipulated? Why are pictures of the earth computer generated? Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go.
Dear NASA, it's becoming 100% crystal clear that you and the other space programs that are in operation are connected and are deceiving the entire world. More and more people are waking up every single day, and we are now able to see right through you. But what we really want to know is, why are you lying? Sincerely, me and the great people of this earth.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Here's how flights could irrefutably prove the Earth is flat. Alright, let's think about this. We're told the Earth spins eastward at 1,600 kilometers per hour at the equator. Now here's the big question. How does a plane flying eastward at just 800 kilometers per hour ever reach its destination? Wouldn't the ground beneath the plane be moving so fast that the plane could never catch up? And let's talk about landings. How could a pilot safely land an aircraft on a runway that's supposedly whizzing along at 1,600 kilometers per hour? It sounds like a logistical nightmare, right? The official explanation: they say the Earth's atmosphere moves perfectly with the planet, as if stuck to it by gravity, like Velcro. This, they claim, makes everything move in sync. But here's where it gets tricky. If Earth were a spinning ball, pilots would have to constantly adjust their altitude for the curvature of the planet. Without doing this, a plane would just keep climbing higher into the sky. To stay on course with Earth's curve, a plane traveling at 800 kilometers per hour would need to tilt its nose down about 850 meters every single minute. That's a lot of adjusting, right? Here's the thing. Pilots don't do this. Once a plane reaches cruising altitude, the controls are leveled out and held steady. No constant downward adjustments. No battling against the curve. Just smooth, level flight. And if Earth were truly spinning and curving as we've been told, wouldn't pilots need to make constant course corrections? Yet we don't see that happening. Instead, planes fly straight, level paths. It's almost as if the Earth isn't spinning or curving at all. So, what do you think? Could this be proof that the Earth isn't what we've been told? If this has you rethinking everything, stick around. There's so much more to explore. Watch the next video and see how deep...
No force in the universe can make water stick to a spinning ball. Here's why the flat Earth makes more sense than you've ever imagined. Let's start with water. Everywhere on Earth, water behaves the same way. It finds its level. Whether it's in a glass, a lake, or the ocean, water doesn't curve, bend, or bulge. So, if Earth were a spinning globe, why doesn't water cling to its surface like magic? Instead, we see calm, flat horizons. And what about the stars? For thousands of years, the constellations have remained in perfect formation, rotating predictably around the North Star. That kind of precision can only happen in one place, under a dome, just like in a planetarium. Coincidence? I think not. Now let's get into some tech. If outer space is as real as they say, why does Google Earth use drones to capture imagery instead of satellites? And here's a fun fact. All the globe images of Earth are edited. Just compare them. They recycle the same cloud patterns. It's like copying and pasting the sky. Plus, many organizations that promote the globe theory use, you guessed it, flat Earth maps in their logos. Strange, right? And then there's the rockets. Billions of dollars spent, yet not one has ever pierced the so-called firmament above us. They keep showing us launches, but no breakthroughs. Why? Because the firmament, as ancient texts suggest, is real, and they can't break it. Let's talk Mars for a second. NASA says they're flying helicopters on a planet with almost no atmosphere. But here's the thing, helicopters need air to generate lift. So how is that supposed to work? The more you look at these claims, the more they fall apart. And then there's the history. Ancient cultures believed in a flat Earth and documented it meticulously in their writings and art. Even the Georgia Guidestones, which mysteriously got demolished, hinted at this reality. The more we explore, the clearer it becomes. This isn't just a theory, it's been known for centuries. Ready to see the world differently? There's so much more to uncover. Hit follow, and let's keep questioning everything you thought you knew. The truth is out there, and it starts here.